episode of the BAMF Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Lafferty, and today we're talking about cosmic superhero characters and related RPG products. And we have just got a whole bunch of talented and handsome people joining us today. First off, Mr. Steve Kenson. How you doing, Steve?
I'm doing very well, thanks. Glad to be here.
Yeah, appreciate you joining us again. We also have Chris McLaughlin, also a Green Ronin fan. How you doing, Chris?
I'm well, sir. How are you?
All right. I'm glad to have you back again.
Thank you.
And we have Mr. Dr. Comics. Jason Tondro is here.
Hey.
Hey, Jason. Glad you could make it. Hey, that's your dog. Do you have a dog or a cat in the background there?
My dog Tess. Yeah, she's my boxer pit bull cross that we got from the pound.
Yeah. Oh, sweet. Cool. Oh, hey, Aid Smith just joined us from the UK. How you doing, Aid? Aid is oddly silent, but we'll get back to him. And of course, Mr.
Oh, if only we'd done this for Halloween, we could have claimed. He said something about these strange walker machines. Last we heard from him.
And Aid is here. He is role playing Black Bolt and is silent. So you guys ever do Black Bolt on an RPG game? How the hell would you make that work?
Right? You need
lots of index cards.
Lots of index cards and meaningful glances. All right.
Would it be much worse than the guy in every Star Wars RPG that has to be a freaking Wookiee? Yes.
Yeah.
No.
I remember in the original Star Wars RPG, like the original rules from what company was that?
West End.
West End, where it said, okay, if you're playing the Wookiee, you have to pick another player who can speak Wookiee-ish.
And one guy who can understand you.
Yeah, and everything you say, you just talk normally and just presume that the other guy translates for you.
Yep. Unless he's not there, in which case you can't talk.
Yeah.
Sweet. And lest I don't want to forget Walt Rebillard, my frequent co-host and co-pilot, is here. Hey, Walt. Glad to have you.
Hey, thank you for having me. If I were a space character, I'd probably be Kylie from Firefly.
Which one was Kylie?
She was the engineer.
Really?
Well, that's because usually I'm the engineer on this show. So.
Well, I'm sorry to break this to you, but you're not nearly cute enough.
Yeah. So my wife has told me.
Sorry to agree. Sorry.
You haven't seen him in the outfit yet. Don't judge.
that beautiful hoop dress that she buys on that you might look really great in that dress.
Hey, speaking of cosmic shows and segueing into superheroes, did you guys know there's a crossover series right now between Green Lanterns, well, actually all the Lantern Corps, and Star Trek?
Yes.
Yes, as a matter of fact, there is.
Who is reading that, and what do you guys think of it?
That resounding silence.
That was some serious silence.
I'm just shaking my head at it. Does that count?
You're like our Star Trek Green Lantern. This is exactly in your bailiwick. This is your field, man.
Well, just like I took a pass on Star Trek X-Men, I just don't think Star Trek should mix with everything.
I was initially very excited just because it's geeky and cheesy and just the kind of proportions that I like. But I picked up the first issue, and I kind of wanted equal fan service for like Star Trek and Green Lantern. And they had a Red Lantern take out a starship in like 2 panels.
Which right away, that was my problem with it. I'm like, a typical Lantern could probably lay waste to a good chunk of the technology they have in all the versions of Star Trek. I'm like, how is this supposed to be interesting?
Yeah, that's kind of where I was at with it. I was like, well, if it's gonna be, if they're just like, if there's no kind of so yeah, I stopped with that issue and haven't gone back to it yet. So.
Do we know much about the new Star Trek series? I saw this all over social media yesterday.
Well, it's one of the people. It's one of the people that's doing the current god awful movie series, and somebody responsible for Scorpion, or as I like to call it, that one show on CBS about annoying nerds. So I've already. It won't be on for another year and a half, and I've already checked out of this show.
Well, I understand Val Kilmer's going to be the captain.
Oh God.
Val Kilmer?
Let's just start that rumor here.
all I can say is I just hope and pray it's the same Val Kilmer that showed up for Gen Con SoCal. I completely retract everything I've said. If it's the same Val Kilmer that showed up for Gen Con SoCal, I will watch every episode, buy the DVDs, you name it. If it's that Val Kilmer.
I'm guessing he had a scotch glass in his hand the whole time.
Well, I don't want to say anything litigious, but let's just say that he showed up the first day, and his other scheduled appearances were canceled, and I'll just leave it at that.
All right.
Sweet. Cool. And I think Sheila Balfe is playing a Beta Z. So that's what I heard anywhere from a reliable source. So.
You're making all this up. You are.
Yes. What?
You guys have met me before, right? This isn't a surprise that I say shit like this. Okay.
I think we heard Aid, like his gurgling choke in the background there.
Hey, what? Yes, what's going on? This is madness.
Mike is simply toying with everyone at this point.
Sorry, I'm a bad man. Hey, are you actually there? We can just we're getting every other word, man. Can you say something?
Not.
I know he's having microphone problems.
Okay. All right. Well, Aid, speak up when you get a chance. All right. Well, now that we have thoroughly shit all over Star Trek and Green Lantern crossover, let's talk about favorite or least favorite cosmic characters, and give me a quick explanation why. And Steve, you want to go first?
Sure. I like a lot of cosmic characters, but for me, cosmic always brings up the really trippy Marvel Adam Warlock stuff from Jim Starlin. Although Adam Warlock could start with Lee and Kirby, Jim Starlin was really the guy, who sort of defined him as a character, and his cosmic stuff with its weird sort of mixture of 70s sci-fi and sort of new age philosophy has always been, kind of a touch point, for cosmic, comic book stuff, as far as I'm concerned, anyway.
I remember the Marvel 2-in-1 that was the second. There was the Death of Thanos story.
Yeah.
When Adam Warlock comes back out of the Soul Gem and grabs Thanos by the throat and turns him to stone.
Yes.
At the end of the issue, and everybody sort of agreed that should have been the last we ever saw of Thanos, because that was just such an awesome way for that story to end. Of course, that didn't happen, but.
Well, Marvel is like most, media producers, not big fans of, things that take their properties out of circulation. So,
yeah,
just like the, capstone of the Death of Phoenix, nothing really ends. Dr. Manhattan got that one right.
Captain Marvel's still dead.
For now.
Well,
Another great cosmic story, the death of Captain Marvel.
Yes, indeed.
All right, cool. Some people have sometimes called Adam Warlock facetiously Space Jesus. How would you respond to that?
Yeah, well, that's pretty accurate.
Roy Thomas has admitted that he got the bulk of the inspiration from the character from seeing Jesus Christ Superstar.
Superstar, yeah, exactly. I was just gonna say, he's pretty much the '70s hippie, Jesus character. So without a doubt, yeah. I guess the only character who gets closer is Aquarian.
Oh.
I guess
I remember Aquarian. I do. I can't remember.
Interesting angle. Is the cosmic side of the Marvel Universe sort of completely and totally bonded with sort of the 70s kind of funky, hippie sort of psychedelic movement?
In the Cosmic Handbook, I certainly I got to write the history section for that, and I certainly argue that it is, because if you look at like 60s Marvel, where everything is basically being written by Stan Lee, Stan's commitment is to doing realistic comics,
Right.
And it's funny, the most cosmic thing that Stan was writing was Fantastic Four. And if you actually go back and reread those issues, yeah, I mean there is a lot of going out in space and exploring all these places, but it really, it's at least half the time it's them dealing with their landlord, or it's a cosmic menace coming to Earth, and how does that affect what was then contemporary Manhattan? Even when Stan had a chance to do something. Yeah, exactly. Even when Stan had a chance to do something really cosmic, he was almost doing like these Golden Age throwback characters that are like based in mythology and magic, like Thor and Doctor Strange.
Mhm.
Other than the odd issue of Fantastic Four, you don't really get a cosmic Marvel until Jim Starlin comes along in the '70s. Starlin is the one who really made it work. But I think the first really cosmic thing I talk about is the Kree Skrull War, which was Roy Thomas.
Yep. And the other big thing is Star Wars.
Yeah.
The whole cosmic era in Marvel really takes off when Star Wars first hits the theaters, and all of a sudden outer space is a thing. And everybody wants to do spaceships and aliens and blasters and characters walking into cantinas with weird creatures. And
and the X-Men go to space, and we get the Starjammers and the Brood, and but it seems to me like that 70s sort of link, kind of in last decade, that's kind of been overwritten by the Marvel's new kind of post-Infinity Gauntlet kind of ideas of space. I'm not really sure how I would characterize that. I would fall back experts like Chris and Steve, but it doesn't seem as tied into the 70s kind of hippie space anymore.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, a lot less trippy, and it's definitely much more focused on sort of the big epic scope of doing things in space, but it's still, you can still see a lot of the influences of the idea that everything in space is giant, sort of a thing.
Sometimes we've talked about on these podcasts about how DC kind of got obsessed with trying to outdo Marvel. And I almost wonder if the opposite happened in space, because DC sort of dominated this cosmic plot lines with Green Lantern. And I wonder if the current Marvel space stories are kind of like trying to do Marvel's version of the Green Lantern stories. Would you say that? Am I totally up the wall on that?
No, I mean, the funny thing is that Marvel has never really had the closest Marvel has ever really gotten to the sort of scope of Green Lantern is when they sort of did the Nova Corps, and the Nova Corps just never came together as a concept for the most part, and so all of Marvel's sort of cosmic stuff is much more political in a lot of ways than
a lot of space pirates.
Yeah, it's pirates. It's a lot of space warfare.
Yeah.
It's conflicts between superpowers and empires. Whereas DC, it's much more of a sort of a cosmic police procedural. Yeah. And it's much more sort of Wild West with the Green Lanterns, of out there imposing order on a chaotic cosmos.
Yeah.
Sort of a thing. So they both have very different approaches to cosmic.
Would you say that you had a diverse reading list in coming up with the Cosmic Handbook, soon to be on sale from Green Ronin?
That's a nice segue. Yeah, well, I mean, we pretty much draw from everything as far as that goes. As anyone who looks through the archetypes in the book will know, we pretty much borrow shamelessly from all sources when it comes to all things cosmic.
Did you actually use something? Excuse me, something like Jaxxon, the space bunny from the Star Wars comics from the '70s?
Well, there is in fact an archetype called the Cosmic Critter. That is a character who strangely resembles, typing from another planet, strangely resembles some kind of terrestrial animal.
Jackson is totally in the Rocket Raccoon archetype. Those two guys are.
Yeah. So yeah. Oh yeah. It's all in there.
Well, and Nort.
Space pirates and galactic cops and space demigods and guys with jetpacks.
Well, I guess we should mention if you go to greenrunner.com right now, you can get a Cosmic Handbook PDF preview that's been up since October 28th. If you want to get an advanced look.
Mm-hmm. Well, at least for me, the comic stuff I pretty much did from memory. I did like some fact checking after the fact, but my one attempt at research was hilariously misguided. Jim Starlin actually appeared at Baltimore Comic-Con when I was working on my manuscript, and obviously, Cosmic, you got to talk a lot about Starlin. So I just wanted, he was just sitting there by himself on a Sunday, had probably already mentally gone home. And can't blame him for that. I know how Sundays cons are. And there was nobody else around, so I thought, okay, here's a chance to actually have an extended conversation with him. Like, well, in the book, I'm suggesting this. Would you think this is fair? Mm-hmm. And I was halfway through my first question for Starlin, and a guy jumped in between us, leaned over the table to where he was literally an inch away from Starlin's nose, as his graying ponytail flopped around and hit me in the nose, and looked at Starlin and goes, "You are in my mind." and then rattled off like 40 minutes of nonstop words, mostly about how, man, I used to do X drug and read X title of yours. Mm-hmm. And about 5 minutes then I'm thinking, well, when exactly did you stop doing the drugs?
About 3 minutes ago. Yeah.
And I gotta give Starlin credit. Whatever little hand sign they have for security, I never saw it. I kept coming back to see if maybe I could come back and talk to him, but for the next 2 hours, this guy was still listing off Starlin titles and drugs he'd taken while reading them. So that didn't go anywhere. Mainly, if there's one writer that has influenced me more than any other, there's a guy who's been writing about music and science fiction and so many other things that I love for years, by the name of Ed Naha, who's written several great books on the genre and people that have worked in it, and used to write for Starlog and things like that back in the day when there were magazines. And I just went back and reread a lot of his stuff about breaking science fiction down as a genre, especially coming at it from a literary perspective, because what science fiction there is in comics, thanks to Julie Schwartz, it really does come from a lot of literary sci-fi. Mm-hmm. And so I was just trying to break down the comic stories that were stuck in my head and looking at them from the perspective of the sci-fi genre in general.
Yeah, because that sort of hippie sci-fi in comics was totally happening in literary sci-fi at the same time. You had Doom
very much
and
so.
Yeah.
Dangerous Visions and more Dangerous Visions.
Little strangers in a strange land.
Yes. Yeah. So that was the fun bit of research I got to do, and a shout out to Mr. Naha, who I'm doing because you made me think I could do it.
How do you spell his last name?
Naha.
Oh, okay.
Just like it's not.
I had not tried that. All right, cool.
We look like cousins. I was pleased to see that when I finally got to virtually meet him.
All right, cool. Hey, before the podcast, you'd mentioned your favorite cosmic character currently is the Rainbow Lanterns.
Oh, absolutely.
Could you justify that?
Yes, because they're the subject of the for me, what's comfortably the greatest comic book crossover series ever. The only one that holds up from start to finish, never loses steam, never feels like it wastes your money. It's such an amazingly dense, rich topic. I mean, it's like overnight, Jeff Johns gifted to the DC universe a mythology as dense and wonderful as Harry Potter or Lord of the Rings in its way. And the way that other writers have added to it and expanded with it and played with the concept, it's just something that just gets to be much more and more imaginatively rewarding the more and longer that it's got on. So to me, it's just the most mind-blowingly wonderful, charming, and well thought out concept that comics has done in many a year.
I used to be a big Green Lantern fan. I kind of fell away in the last decade and a half or so. How does the existence of all new lanterns, does that kind of supplant any backstory we had for the Dark Stars?
Well, they were all killed off at one point and have never been mentioned again. They may not have survived the post-Flashpoint reboot. I must confess, no offense to people that like that title, I actually went back and picked up the first few issues of Dark Stars because my longtime comic shop had them for, I think, free take one or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And at least the early issues where Travis Charest is drawing them, I feel like I'm in that Louise Buñuel movie where they run the razor blade across the eyeball. I mean,
Really?
It's just this god awful like image ripoff art. The answer to the question, what's worse than the '90s image art? And it's just it's just the story may be good or bad, but the art is just so distractingly terrible. To me, it's a concept I can't warm to.
Yeah, Donna Troy was not well served by that series.
Oh, this is before anybody you've ever heard of ever show up. This is like a cop that won't play by the rules and two aliens you've never heard of before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, it's really, really painful to read. I mean, I don't even know if it would be good if the art were any good. But I mean, that's a question I'll never know the answer to, because the art is god awful.
With all of the new Lantern Corps, is the deal was that they've been out there in space the whole time? We just didn't see them before now.
Well, the only one that's been out there that nobody knew about them were the Indigos. Mm-hmm. And since they don't really patrol a sector, since they all travel in a group and they don't really call attention to themselves, it was kind of at least semi-believable that they've been out there for a while. There were a recent creation. Abin Sur is responsible for creating them.
Okay.
And you get to see the genesis of all the rest of them in the build-up to Blackest Night. So there is a good and justifiable reason. Oh, and the Orange Lantern, Larfleeze has been around for, he doesn't even remember how long he's been on, but he's had a sector to himself on the condition that the Guardians never go there. Mm-hmm. And they wind up having to do that, and that's what brings him into the DC universe finally.
Even that is a nice bit of backwards continuity.
Yeah.
Why it is that the Green Lanterns and the Guardians never went to that sector of space.
Yes, because they didn't want to put up with the annoying Larfleeze. Yeah, but it was all just so well thought out, and so to me it was Jeff Johns at his best. It's something that immediately feels like it's been part of the DC universe from the beginning. Mm-hmm. And if you actually go back and reread those old books, you kind of wonder why it isn't there. Why it took somebody long to realize, well, if they're green, why can't you have red and blue and indigo? And just such a marvelous, marvelous concept. And I don't know if I will live to see a better crossover than Blackest Night.
All right, cool. Well, that's a good answer. All right.
Thank you.
Hey, well, we were talking favorite characters before the podcast started. You said yours was Rom. And you talk about that a little bit?
Oh God, I could geek about that all day.
I've heard that is IDW putting out a ROM collection?
Yeah, they're getting ready to. So
how does that work? Like,
I believe they have the license from the actual, what is it? Mattel? No, what was the toy company
Kenner?
that had them?
Kenner?
One of those. They actually. Yeah, they actually got the license, so they'll be putting out some things. But ROM was it just seemed like such a goofy story at the time. I mean, it was always the one that stood out on the spinner rack at the convenience store, because it was always this big silver dude blasting these aliens, and it was just, I could never get the. I'm sorry.
Mantlo.
Say again.
Was it Layton or Mantlo? I forget who did that.
Mantlo.
Oh, Mantlo.
Yeah. But you had these, I could never get consecutive issues, because it was always spinner racks back then, and it was, you get the next issue that you could get your hands on, and you just be, this is amazing, but what the hell happened before this? And as he was blasting, people in that little town he was patrolling. With the God, what's the name of the
Neutralizer.
The neutralizer. So that stuff like that was just amazing. But like we've said before, what makes him such a great character is that, and I believe Steve brought up a lot of these points the last time we talked about Rom, was that not only is he a person who sacrificed everything he had to protect the ones he loved, but you could use him as either a villain or hero, depending on your point of view, because the heroes couldn't see the dire wraiths. The heroes who would always confront him couldn't see what he was after. So he was almost like Don Quixote in that regard. They're coming, and everybody just sees windmills. So I mean, it's really a great character, really a fun character. And I really hope when IDW gets it back, they do something with him.
It's unfortunate because, as far as I can tell, IDW, if they have the license from the toy company, all the interesting parts of Rom's mythology are still owned by Marvel.
Oh, that rots.
Because pretty much everything except the appearance of the character, his name, and his gadgets are stuff that Bill Mantlo made up.
Yeah, dire wraiths and all that.
All the dire wraiths, Galador and all of its background, all of the other space knights, the whole backstory, and all of that stuff is all Marvel's still. And the funny thing is that, Rom is basically Bill Mantlo's Silver Surfer magnum opus.
And that's another comic that's being really well done right now. I'm glad Aid is here because I thought I was going to have to be the Doctor Who champion while he was out. So, you can definitely tell Dan Slott's love for Doctor Who in how he's representing the Silver Surfer right now, and even some of the funny bits. I mean, like the young lady that he manages to kidnap or take on his space journeys. She starts calling his board to me, because he keeps saying to me, my board, so she keeps calling the board, thinks that's the thing's name. So
is this the one that Mike Allred is drawing right now?
Yeah. They just the last issue that I managed to read was I believe it was August. It came out. It's the one with Groot on the cover, and they're both surfing the board on opposite sides. Rocket Raccoon gets kidnapped or something like that, and they have to go after him. It was a fun comic, and just the cover really grabbed me, so I thought it was really fun.
Oh, cool. All right.
Yeah. Hey, sorry, just saying. While we're talking about Rom and Micronauts and Rocket Raccoon, if any of y'all or any of our listeners get a chance, go to Facebook and look up the Bill Mantlo Project. For those of you who don't know, Bill suffered severe brain trauma about 20 years ago and is in long-term care right now. So if you loved Bill Mantlo's comics like I did and you have a few bucks, please go there, kick in whatever you can to help Bill's family take care of his long-term care needs.
Yes, please do.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Not awesome that he's hurt. Awesome that they're taking care of him.
Yeah.
Since Chris already brought up Micronauts and we're on Mantlo, can I just chime in with my fave since we're here?
Sure.
They know.
You may proceed, sir.
Proceed, Governor. Micronauts was the comic that I first started to find at comic book shops. It was like right around that time, and I was a spoiled kid, which I'm trying to live down with the rest of my family ever since. But I had a bunch of the Micronaut toys, which were ridiculously expensive. But as I say, I was spoiled rotten. And Michael Golden was doing the art. I don't know if any of you guys remember those first couple of dozen issues, and Captain Universe appeared, and all of the imagination that was going on with these characters, and Croyer and Bug and Commander Ran and the whole cast. It was very Star Wars-y. It was very much in the Star Wars mold.
Indeed.
And the characters appeared, which were from the regular Marvel Universe, but I didn't even realize, like Psycho Man was a major bad guy in Micronauts, and it took me years to find out that Psycho Man first appeared in Fantastic Four. I think that's right. If I'm wrong, somebody will definitely correct me.
That's right.
And I still just have very fond memories of that series and I collected the whole thing, and I remember when it ended. Now, I understand some of the characters have come back since then, and I haven't kept up with that, I confess. But that original Michael Golden run. And then I remember when Captain Universe spun off and actually Ditko drew them.
Yeah.
Steve Ditko drew Captain Universe, and there were a few different versions. If those of you that don't remember, you ever met Captain Universe, the big shtick behind him was that he could be anybody. In fact, the cover was like, he could be you.
Yep, the hero who could be you.
Yeah, and when you're 12 years old or 14 or however old I was, that was a pretty great hook for a guy. I want to be Captain Universe. Then Spider-Man got Captain Universe powers and all went downhill. But at first, it was a great hook. So yeah, Micronauts, and I had forgotten that Mantlo did that too. I mean, just so much incredibly influential comics work out of the genius of one guy.
Yeah, and let's give him real credit for like as you rightly point out, it's something that was inspired and driven by the Star Wars mania at the time.
Yeah.
But let us not forget, Micronauts was a good deal darker than Star Wars.
That's true.
My love for Micronauts far outlived my fascination with Star Wars. I mean, right off the bat, the upper classes on the Micronauts' homeworld are like making themselves immortal by literally stealing the bodies of the poor. Yeah. That's almost political if that's the sort of thing you want to go looking for. And right there, I mean, issue 1, it has something infinitely more interesting than has appeared in anything Star Wars related. Let's give Mantlo credit for that too.
Yeah, I love like the family rivalry between Croyer and his brother. I think his name was Sharon.
Yeah.
And I thought that it was just very, very well written. And the new characters would show up. Every time a new toy would come out in the Micronauts line, it was inevitable before the character showed up in the comics. But man, it was just so seamless. And there was always another planet in the next star where we could put the desert planet with the guy that rode a giant ostrich everywhere or whatever, And I could read those books forever.
Well, hey, Aid, since we can hear you now, do you have a favorite cosmic character? And is it Doctor Who?
I can be heard. That's good. Well, if we're talking outside comics, then yes, of course. That's a given. Favorite character? The first character I ever read was Adam Warlock. Back in the early 80s, I'm assuming, the UK used to have some really, really cheap newspapery reprints of Marvel stuff. And I remember reading some Adam Warlock stuff in the back of one of those that just struck me as the character. I knew it was kind of supposed to be in the same universe as Spider-Man, but the actual storylines just seemed to be so completely far removed from those kind of New York-based crime robbery kind of things that were going on in the key Marvel universe. So that was pretty cool. But favorite characters, it's got to be either Galactus or Thanos. I think Galactus probably tops it, to be honest. Galactus is great. Galactus should be in lots of things. It's always good when he shows up and he kind of and he's got the true kind of air of terror and awe and presence that he's supposed to have. When he just shows up and kind of like they defeat him in 35 seconds, like they did at the end of the Ultimate Universe doodah thing, where they almost killed the universe, but not quite, because we're going to keep it going for a couple of more months. That was kind of crappy, but yeah, I think he's a cool character. We like him a lot.
Yeah, I think Kitty Pryde beat him up, didn't she, in the Ultimate?
Kitty Pryde punched him in the face. Yes, that was exactly what happened. Yes, giant Kitty Pryde punched Thanos out, and then Thor took him to the negative zone. That was what happened.
I remember the John Byrne comic in which Galactus shows up and like everybody, all the Avengers and every superhero in New York teams up to beat him up.
Yep.
And my favorite bit of that whole scene is Spider-Man and Daredevil sitting on top of a building watching.
Yep.
And Spidey's like, "Hey, got any popcorn?" It's Thor and Iron Man and everybody else is down there like, what is Daredevil gonna do? And it's great. Great job.
Yep.
I definitely think that compared, as we were saying, with like the DC universe and the Marvel cosmic stuff, because you have the Green Lantern constantly being in space, their stuff doesn't seem quite as epic. Whereas with the Marvel universe, you do have these like, oh my god, he's 75 foot tall, he's going to crush us all kind of characters running around all over the place. You don't tend to get that a lot in the DC universe as much.
Mm-hmm.
I can't think of any super powerful. I can obviously like alien races. Like I think of like the guys from Legion, Legion of Superheroes, like the Chuns and all this, that, and the other. But I can't think of anything that's kind of like the Celestials. I can't think of the DC equivalent of the Celestials.
Well, you know what's really interesting about DC is that they had this long tradition of taking the protagonist and sending them off to space for a kind of annual run or whatever. Alan Moore's Swamp Thing being a kind of.
I was just about to say that. Exactly about to say it, yeah.
But I remember when Superman did it too, like right after
the Space Gladiator phase.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And I remember when William Mester Loeb was writing Wonder Woman, and he complained about this bitterly afterwards because he was like, "Look, Wonder Woman had all these problems. She had all these continuity hassles. She was supposed to be in the Justice League, and I couldn't feel." He says, "I didn't feel like I could actually write her. I had all these other subplots I had to write. So I decided to take her off into space, intentionally following Alan Moore's lead." And he got to do it for about 3 issues before DC Comics said, "No, you got to bring her back because she's in the Justice League." And he's like, "Oh, what a waste."
Just like, you say DC's cosmic stuff seems like the American frontier, with kind of like gritty kind of civilizations out there, whereas Marvel seems to be, oh my god, what the hell's the next terror coming around the corner? So that seems to be their thing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, is Lobo still an emo guy now, or did they?
Yes.
Yes. I actually bought a couple of issues that as because of a crossover, and they're terrible even by New 52 standards. I mean, they're just really awfully terrible.
It was completely redundant. I don't know what even did it.
Yeah. Oh, and terrible. By the way, DC versus Celestials, I hate to bring them up, but the New Gods.
Well, but there's.
Well, really.
Yeah, okay, the curve. Okay.
The sort of the predecessors of the New Gods, all the stuff like Kirby's Promethean giants and stuff like that. They're the Celestials.
Yes.
Except it's interesting and kind of telling that in Kirby's fourth world, the Celestials are all dead. And they're just these sort of ossified corpses floating around in the vastness of space.
Yeah. I forgot about the gods, I admit it.
I don't blame you, sir. I don't blame you a bit.
Again, New Gods, Darkseid, there's another character that I really did like. Darkseid used to be the cool character. When he showed up, he meant something. And then he's in the first issue of Justice League, and then all of a sudden he's kind of been like this hovering bad guy over the entire 45-issue run.
If they gave Darkseid his own title, it would actually reduce the number of appearances he makes in the DC universe since the New 52.
That's possibly true.
I just love that in the cartoon he was voiced by Michael Ironside.
He was cool in that.
I want
to be voiced by Michael Ironside.
Definitely, either that or Morgan Freeman.
None of us are cool enough to be.
I don't think Paul Rubens was available. He might have been too expensive. Well, hey, since we were just talking about cosmic characters as a cheap lead-in in order to springboard into talking about the Cosmic Handbook coming soon from Green Ronin.
You pulled back the curtain on our scheme.
So hey, let's talk about that. It's actually coming out. Do you guys have a release date, or is that tempting fate at this point?
The PDF should be out this week, which means it will also go up for pre-order, and then obviously it'll be a matter of how long it takes the printer to turn it around from that point on. But the book's supposed to be up for order this week.
Okay. Wow. All right. So finally.
Tomorrow.
All right, cool. And, well, let's talk about this. You guys turned in your manuscript pages, I'm guessing, for this 3-4 years ago?
Summer 2012.
Okay.
Not that anyone's keeping track.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Well, hey, let's, I'm just looking at the preview. Let's talk about the archetypes we got. Let's just rattle these off, see if they, any of them spark some questions. Alien Supermind. Obviously, that's going to be your.
These are the villain archetypes.
These are villain archetypes. Yeah. I'm just going straight off the. The hero archetypes. Here we go. Cosmic Buccaneer, Space Pirate, Cosmic Critter. We talked that's going to be your Gnort or your Rocket Raccoon. Galactic Peace Officer, That's your Nova Corps, your Green Lantern. Ray gun hero. I'm guessing that's Adam Strange.
Yep, all the backpack, jetpack wearing, ray gun wielding.
Space
I
demigod.
forgot Adam Strange. I love Adam Strange. Sorry.
Adam Strange is a perennial favorite. So space demigod. I'm guessing that's your basic, apocalypse slash.
Your classic new god archetype.
Yeah, new guy type. Yeah. All right. So how is the Space Knight different from the Galactic Peace Officer?
Well, Space Knight is a bit more of a fighty character, shall we say? They're all pretty powerful. One of the elements of the cosmic book is that all the characters are much higher power level than the usual fare. But the Galactic Peace Officer is power level 14. And has a whole host of powers and options. The Space Knight is power level 12 and a little bit more straightforward and much more of a focused, straight-on combat character for cosmic stuff.
Okay, cool. Moving down the list, we've got Space Soldier, which I'm guessing that's pretty self-explanatory there. Next one is I might have found a typo. I'm thinking this is supposed to be Star Hero, but it says Start Hero on the table of contents.
Yeah, I'll have to check that. It's right in the book, but because I'm looking at it right now. But I will check it on the final. Make sure we catch that.
Okay, so what is a Star Hero?
Well, the Star Hero is pretty much the wielder of vast cosmic power type. It's the character. It's it could be an Adam Warlock type of character, for example. But a character who's got vast cosmic power, sort of a thing, and has a lot of the I am the chosen one, sort of complex. To go with them. If anybody is going to have cosmic awareness, that sort of a thing, it's this guy. Yeah, Captain Marvel, for example. Anyone whose title is Guardian of the Universe, anything like that.
Okay, cool.
Hey, can I do Starbrand with the Star Hero? Is that a good?
You can, yeah, sorta. You get into the whole issue, and we talk a lot in the cosmic book about, how big do you mean when you say infinity? Because obviously there's some aspects of the Starbrand thing that his power is essentially infinite, and all of that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Which gets kind of weird. But there's actually a whole section of the book that talks about the notion of, the whole power level X concept in Mutants and Masterminds, and how, in the cosmic situation, you may actually want something that's a little bit more differentiated than, 1, 2, 3, infinity. So there's some discussion about that. And yeah, you could do, really the really big powerhouse characters.
So it seems to me that you might be able to get away in a cosmic game with, rather than emphasizing power level, emphasizing niche protection.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really matter what power level you are as long as you're the guy with the spaceship or whatever.
Sure, in some cases.
Now, how fun was it to expand the Freedomverse and bring it into space? Like, can you talk a little bit about that?
It was pretty fun. Well, it actually worked out kind of in an opportune fashion, because we certainly were expanding on parts of the Earth Prime setting in terms of space beyond Earth. But because the events at the end of Emerald City Nights in the Emerald City setting touched on some of the cosmic stuff, because there's a cosmic adventure series that is a sequel to that, we had sort of a kickoff to really talk about what was going on in the greater universe beyond Earth. So minor spoiler warning for anybody who hasn't played Emerald City Nights. But basically, at the end of the adventure series, the characters get to witness a sentient cosmic black hole essentially devour the capital world of the Lower Republic. And that sort of throws a great wrench into all of the sort of cosmic political stuff going on out in space, so this is sort of the new normal in the Cosmic Handbook, and it clashes between empires and alternate universes and all sorts of fun stuff. So yeah, it was a blast.
How many alien types can we see coming out of this? And I see in the preview you have like alien templates.
Yeah.
Do you have a system in place for creating more?
For creating more templates?
Templates or aliens in general.
Well, there pretty much is a combination of there's a whole set of templates and there's a whole set of essentially alien supporting cast archetypes. And you can mix and match those to create all kinds of stuff as far as that goes. So we talk pretty generally about a lot of the alien races because we didn't want to turn the setting chapter of the book into a giant catalog of, and here's another alien race. And, this is what they're called, and this is what they look like, and this is what their home planet is like, and because that would just get really tiring. And in the comics, generally speaking, unless the character is really significant, it doesn't really matter anyway. I mean, it's really more important that they're a bug guy or a plant guy or whatever they may be, or they're some weird looking thing that has jaws that unhinge and can swallow you whole. As to whether or not what their planet is called. So we tended to focus much more on that than we did on a whole catalog of planets and races and things like that. We talk a lot in general about a lot of prominent alien races and types of aliens that show up in different places, but that's about the extent of it.
I'm sorry, Mike. Did you have something to say?
No, I'm just looking over the preview right now.
Was that Emerald City Nights adventure intentionally kind of riffing on Galactus devouring the Skrull homeworld and the ramifications?
Oh, yeah. Definite inspiration as far as that goes.
Now, you said that you had the intelligent black hole. Does he show up in this as well?
He doesn't show up. The characters get to see him in the end of Emerald City Nights. They actually get to fight him in the sequel.
Right on. Did those kind of world-ending threats? Do you talk about these in the book as well?
Oh yeah, yeah. In fact, we actually have an archetype that's basically forget exactly what it's called. We have one called the Devourer, which appropriately enough. But there's also another villain archetype called the Avatar of Destruction. And a whole bunch of discussions about how do you deal with the the being that's out to destroy the universe.
Now, what would be the archetype you could use something like Death's Head 2? Would that be like the galactic tough guy, or would that be like a star hero?
Yeah, galactic tough guy is kind of the Death's Head Lobo type, sort of brawler cosmic character.
Cool. As I actually have had a chance to look at the preview version of it, two favourite sections of it. The first section being, here's a list of everything in space that can kill you. the section about, hey, if your characters want to encounter a black hole, this is what they've got to fight against. If your characters end up in space with no oxygen, this is what's going to happen to them.
Yep.
That section I absolutely love. That is absolutely brilliant.
That was me. I was in a real dark place then.
Yeah. And the second section is somebody has taken the time to work out exactly where along the ranks and timetable how much strength you need to shift the Earth from its orbit.
Yeah,
how much. And what flight speed you need to fly from one planet to another. That is just
That would be the guy
so
with
cool
tenure.
information to have.
That'd be the guy with tenure. You know.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah,
such
I
good
think we
information to
have
have.
the rules for blowing up planets in there too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's right. I remember reading that. Yeah, that's right.
What the damage.
So tell us, what rank attack do I have to blow up a planet?
Oh, I don't remember off the top of my head.
Okay. Well,
you're talking. I got it. All right.
I was going to say, yes.
And of course,
I-
I recall there being some discussion. Of course, it also depends on what you mean by destroy.
Yeah.
Because we talk about, there's a damage rank that will effectively wipe out all life on a planet, because you'll blow through the mantle and create a giant hell pit. The core will erupt out all over its surface. And
I'll accept that answer.
Okay, I got it. Okay, in a section called "You and Me Against the World," mad at the whole world, settling that quarrel with your fists against an Earth-sized non-gas giant means making a dent against a toughness defense of 33. A strength 48 punch is, barring other modifiers, enough to completely destroy the planet with one blow, and is therefore not recommended without enough immunity to survive the ensuing newly created vacuum of space.
there you go.
Hey, Chris.
Sure.
How strong do you have to be to punch history and change continuity?
Oddly enough, all you need is tenure.
Touche.
So 2 more years then. That's how long I need to do that.
Yeah, that was disturbing.
Well, I got demoted to U.S. history one year, and I got out of it by telling them, if you do this to me again next year, I'm going to go in and lie about everything. We're going to talk about the Bela Lugosi presidency and how he got us out of the Depression.
Outstanding.
Yeah. So I've been doing politics ever since, oddly enough.
I want to live in Chris McLaughlin's alternate history.
A lot more flying monkeys.
It's called Chris McLaughlin's world. We're all just living in it.
Oh.
Well, hey guys, here's a weird thing. I have to leave now to pick up my kid from daycare because he has swim classes. Because I'm a dad now.
That is weird.
Because there's no license for that. You can just have a kid. So I was going to step away. Walt, do you mind continuing the host and wrap things up?
No, that's fine. We'll continue on and make sure we talk about you when you leave.
I appreciate that, and also make sure we wanted to pimp Chris McLaughlin and Aide's Rogues Gallery, which is going to be bi-weekly or weekly again sometime soon.
It should be going weekly as soon as the dust from the emergence of the Cosmic Handbook settles.
All right, cool. So hopefully the next month or so. All right, cool. Well, hey, I'll talk to you guys later, and I hand the con over to Walt. So I'll talk to you guys later.
Hey, be good, Mike.
All right, take care. Bye.
So when the Cosmic Book does come out, will that create like a giant space vacuum as well, sucking all other releases into it, or will?
Well, we are expecting an audible gasp from people who realize that it finally came out.
It's just like Alderaan exploding.
Yeah, I was going to say, souls all gasping at once.
I gotta say, looking at some of the art in the preview is really cool. Like I like the Blackguard. The Blackguard. That can you spill any secrets about those characters at all? Because let me tell you, Minotaur dude is just the coolest.
Yeah. So one thing, sort of inspired by organizations, things like the whole War of Light in DC, and the Space Knights versus the Dire Wraiths, and other sorts of cosmic epics. We expanded out elements of the Earth Prime universe such that the Star Knights, who we introduced way back in the first edition of Freedom City, now are dealing with two essentially rival organizations, and the Blackguard are basically Black Star's own sort of personal Sinestro core, when he gets control of the sort of some source of his power, and can start doling it out to other people, he basically recruits his own sort of intergalactic gang, and we get all sorts of really nasty and unpleasant aliens with darkness powers, essentially, including the guys in the really great illustration with Black Star on his throne, looking all sinister and plotty. So the Minotaur guy is called Orok, by the way, and we also have a spin-off from the end of the Emerald City Knights, is a group called the Argents, who are basically the creations of a preserver artificial intelligence supercomputer that basically gives this advanced nanotech to a whole range of agents, basically making all of them into sort of the functional equivalents of the engineer from the Authority, and is basically out looking sort of like the Manhunters to impose order on a chaotic cosmos. So the Argents are kind of a wild card element. They can be potential allies or not, depending on how you agree with their agenda. So
sounds like a lot of the political parties in my state. I know when Jason was penning the seminal work of The Great Game, he talked about when the heroes go to space, they have that one race that they can kind of identify with as like, come with us if you want to live out in space. Do you have a section like that in the Cosmic Handbook?
We talk about a lot of sort of the good guy and bad guy factions, but the thing with the Earth Prime universe is that space has gotten really dangerous, and a lot of the sort of good factions are in pretty bad shape. The sort of most peaceful intergalactic or interstellar civilization has been conquered by a totalitarian empire, and so pretty much all that's left of them is remnants that are still trying to fight against basically their new dictator. All the evil, nasty aliens are kind of crawling out of the woodwork because there's very little to keep them in check, and the good guys who are the closest there is, the Star Knights who are the closest there is to cosmic cops, all of a sudden have two rival organizations to deal with, in addition to basically wars and conflicts breaking out everywhere. So it's a rough place for characters to visit.
Now, at the end of the book, you have the Freedom City 2525. This
Yes.
is obviously like the Justice League 3000, stuff like that.
Yeah, Justice League 3000, Legion of Superheroes, basically all of the great, future outer space, Confederation of Planets, sort of stuff, and that's all the brilliant work of Chris McLaughlin. So.
Oh, thank you, sir. You're too kind.
Chris, can you talk a little bit about how to do a future book so that it doesn't spoil the current plot lines? I mean, how do you work that so that you're not pulling out handfuls of hair and putting back on your lucha libre mask?
It's funny. It's funny you say that because Freedom City 2525 got started at a time when Eminem was taking open pitches, and I sent them. I had two pitches that I was ready to go with that I had thought about, that I was dying to want to do for years, and then I threw Freedom City 2525 in there for like, what the heck. And lo and behold, that's the only one that was accepted of the three, and it's now entering its third edition. You just never know what idea that somebody's going to go for. And then then when they told me they wanted to use it, then of course there comes the panic of, oh crap, I actually have to write this now.
Now I actually have to make it happen.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Because you have to wait at least 15 years before you admit I just threw that in at the last minute. But and that's one of the things that I had to address at the time. So what I basically came up with was a couple of genre conceits, and that is that in the year 2112, that sounds familiar. There was like a worldwide computer crash, and basically almost all the records of what had happened before have been lost. So if a character from the past wanders into 2525, another familiar date now that I think about it, and they start asking, well, what happens to the stock market and all this? Like, well, we lost all that. Sorry. Mm-hmm. So it's sort of, you have sort of a built-in way to keep them from bringing contamination back to the past. And thankfully, since I get to play in this wonderful, wonderful, wonderful fictional universe that Steve has created, we already had the idea that there were time cops. And that, if for some reason the characters get clever or persistent and actually do something to damage the timeline, well, then you as the GM can throw them into some horribly altered yesterday's Enterprise type timeline, and then have one of our time cop characters show up and wag their finger at them. In fact, one of the characters I created, Clockwatcher, is essentially there just to wag his finger at your player characters if they try to screw with the timeline too much. So yeah, I mean, it's you have to put the tools in the GM's hand to kind of pull your players back in, or at least have a mechanism for putting some consequences on there, and then of course since the game has to go on, giving them a way to make up for what they did.
So you end up basically skirting around all that stuff, like the evil black hole and stuff like that. That's why the universe is still there.
Well, yeah, we have to remember, Freedom City 2525 was created back in 2003. We were a long way from talking black holes and things like that. Everything that's been created in the 15 years of real time since I first went from holy crap, I have to actually write this. Really all I can say is that 500 years is an awfully long time for things to change and realign themselves and to take on patterns that none of us could even possibly imagine. So if you want to talk about what the talking black hole did, you're certainly welcome to incorporate that. Or 500 years is a long time to forget things.
Nice.
And for things not to matter quite so much as they might have once seemed.
I have a question about 2525.
Okay.
The big bad guy that's in the I don't know I can't remember if it's in this version. The guy who may be from the past. Did you have someone in your own mind who that was supposed to be, or did you not even think about it at all?
The big bad guy who's supposed to be somebody from the past.
Oh, I can't remember the guy's name now. So I'm trying to look it up and I can't find it. Give me 2 seconds.
Okay, please.
I should grab my...
Because the only one of my bad guys that's from the past is Black Star, and his history's been pretty much well laid out.
Black Star?
Black Star is the only old villain that I brought back into.
Dave, you may be thinking of a character from a more of a near future version of Freedom City that we did at one point.
Oh, and I think is that from the Worlds of Freedom City, not from this.
Yeah, the second edition 2525 was in that book too, so they may have been like real close to each other.
Yeah, we did also do sort of a very near future sort of like Marvel 2099, Batman Beyond.
Tyrannos. Yes, thank you.
Yes, sort of setting, and I can tell you that that character is deliberately not anyone.
Right. That's because obviously you see a character like that and you think, okay, someone's going to have an idea who this guy really is.
It's really hot. Right, you're right. It ultimately turns out to be Captain Atom, but we have to change that now.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I was going to ask. So, has that now changed because of something like that happening? Yeah, exactly. Cool. Sorry, my mistake then.
And interesting side note. As I'm working on the new edition of Freedom City, some of the elements of that near future setting that we've already published are starting to show up in Freedom City now. or
Very cool.
present day continuity is. So it's been interesting to kind of draw upon some of the setting's own near future to start having some of it actually happening.
Is that like cell phones that can, hack computers from across the world and stuff like that, or are you talking like political
continuity
elements?
involving characters.
Gotcha. Storylines are starting to converge.
Yeah.
How attached are you to that future plot line? I mean, are you...
Not overly.
Okay, so it's not like it's set in stone. You're just keeping tossing what you know.
We're just, having elements of that, show up in the present continuity, which could either mean that that future is going to happen, or it just could mean that it might happen. Who knows?
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not going to be our Kingdom Come. We're not going to take like 5 whole years of our plot lines and then start pounding everything into, it's going to be Kingdom Come.
No.
But then it's not.
Not that anybody would do that, but...
So I just have one quick fanboy question. Chris, earlier you had talked about the guy who ran up at the convention and talked about when he was reading the plot lines while he was on drugs. Do you ever have to defend Steve like that at the game conventions?
Never. Although we have a running gag that my whole reason for being at the Ronin booth is in case like one of these like hardcore people that's really still mad that Steve killed off Dunkelzahn all those years ago comes up and tries to get revenge. I'm to leap in front of Steve and take the bullet or the slap or whatever this
Whatever's coming my way.
Yeah, bag of confetti or whatever's there, So yeah, we wait for that for Dunkelzahn and So yeah, so I I don't have to verbally defend him. I'm prepared to die for him basically.
As you do.
Yeah.
So once again, for those looking to get the Cosmic Handbook, they can get the preview now. And then you said the PDF and pre-order will be up when, Steve?
Should be up this week.
Nice. And they should just go to greenronin.com and it'll be right on the main page?
Yep.
Awesome. We also have the Rogues Gallery still coming out with Aiden Chris. Did you guys want to throw a quick shout out about that?
Yes. It's taking a bit of a pause so that we can finally get Cosmic Handbook out. But once the dust on that settles, then yes, your weekly supply of villains should be resuming, and we've got some good ones coming up. I've seen Aid's stuff, and it's excellent. And some of the more twisted things I've came up with recently, like the Reborn House of Usher, are in the pipeline.
Yes.
So looking forward to seeing people get a look at those.
And while I got him in mid-chew, Jason, do you have anything coming up that you'd like to throw down real quick?
I'm those of you that are already on the Facebook group for the Supervillain Handbook, you've seen the last of Dionysia Jones's art has come in.
Awesome.
So it's absolutely beautiful. It's just great. And what's been a wonderful fun is that she's really helped to design a lot of these last characters.
Mm-hmm.
The book has got, I believe I've got 9 heroes, 45 villains. There's also a long section on different kinds of supervillain campaigning. I started off with 3 or 4 different versions, like the Suicide Mission Team or the World Without Heroes or whatever. But then a lot of the people that were commenting in the Facebook group added to that list, and we got some great contributions. So I also wrote up the heist picture and the jailbreak and all kinds of other ways to run an all supervillain campaign. So that's also all been added. And I took Steve's Icons A to Z and completely revamped. Everything in the book is up to date with Icons A to Z, which has been incredibly useful, especially Nax, which virtually every character in my book has. If I had one Icons house rule, it would be that everybody gets 3 Nax.
Very handy.
Yeah, I just love it so much for differentiating characters and giving everybody a kind of special move where we know that you're really good at that one thing,
Yeah.
and then but a lot of other stuff too, like the cosmic rules, since we're already talked about that, or the new influence specializations like persuasion and intimidation and all that stuff.
Right.
So it's been really fun to integrate all those new rules, and it's a really big book. At the same time as I'm finishing this part, I'm also finishing up the Savage Worlds conversion for it. So every one of those 50+ characters has complete Savage Worlds stat blocks. And it's all customized, so I have rules advice for Savage Worlds that applies to each of the various archetypes and how Savage Worlds, for example, is better at some things and maybe not as good at others. So if you're playing the Mastermind, well, that's a great opportunity for you to use all of Savage Worlds as really great minions rules, for example. That's a game system that's really designed for having lots of mooks and minions on the table at once. So what kind of characters can I play that I really exploit where the system is strong? Conversely, Savage Worlds is kind of aimed less at cosmic characters and more at kind of street level heroes. So that's created some challenges when it comes to converting a lot of these upper level characters. As I described, I was writing up one of the heroes, which is a Stardust, the Super Wizard. Those of you that remember Stardust, the Super Wizard, he's a public domain hero from the Golden Age. He's got about a dozen absolutely batshit crazy insane stories, and in one of them, he moves Mars with his mind. Such a character is rare in Icons, but perfectly describable. I mean, you could totally give that guy power ranks, especially if you have C's for Cosmic. But that character is impossible in Savage Worlds without house rules or GM fiat.
Right.
So it just creates a different kind of superhero game. Savage Worlds has got a map, and it's more numbers oriented, and it's got inches of movement, in a sense that like hero players will recognize. But Icons is much more freeform. So it's been a real challenging, but it's been a lot of fun, and I've learned a lot about both games, and I can't wait to turn this in. We'll go to our editor and proofreader, Kristen. And then we've got more art coming in. Walt's been showing me art behind the scenes from all the Kickstarter backers that chipped in and got their characters put into the book. So I just can't. It's going to be the best thing I've ever written, which isn't saying much, but I'm very proud of it.
Look forward to it.
You got that. Oh, somebody's got their mic on. Oh, there we go. You got that stick that they use in Monty Python with the monks to hit themselves when you threw that one in there. Because what do you call it? It is a good work. So you do.
I appreciate it, but all the writers here, you all know exactly what I mean. Like every time you make a new book, you just try to make it the best book you've ever written.
Sure.
I have friends that are they do small publishing and they do a lot of comic book stuff. One of my friends said that he bought into it after he read the dollar manuscript, and then he went in and went pretty much full bore with the Kickstarter because for a comic writer's standpoint, he thought it was an excellent way to get villains out of it that weren't just Fire Guy or.
Well, that's very gracious, and I appreciate that. As Steve and Mike and Walt and Aid, everybody, you guys all know, writing superhero role-playing game stuff does not make us rich. We do it because we love to do it, and so it's just been really rewarding to pour my heart into this book.
Excellent. Any final thoughts before we shut the windows and run for cover? Aid, you want to start off first?
I'll say it again because I say it every time we're on the podcast. Go and read Secret Wars. It's really good. It's slightly cosmic related. There's multiple universes in it. There's Doctor Doom is in charge of the entire planet. That's kind of cosmic. Go read that. That's cool. Buy the trade, if anything else.
Steve, final thoughts?
I really hope people enjoy Cosmic Handbook. We're really glad to be getting it out there. It's been a while in coming, but it's a terrific book. It's going to be a great addition to Mutants and Masterminds. I think people are going to get a lot of fun out of it.
Awesome. I'm super stoked. I can't wait. Chris, final thoughts?
While doing game and game-related stuff may not make us rich in the sense of lucre and that sort of thing, it has blessings and rewards that you can't put a dollar sign on. And certainly foremost amongst that for me lately has been the wonderful email that we got from a listener. And I just wanted to say a special hello to Heath. If you're out there listening, if you're on your drive again, we're thinking of you. We're with you, and thank you so much for taking the time to write that letter. It made my whole year, if not decade. So thank you, my friend.
Drive safe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully, when Mike starts talking about Colorado Salsa Dance Championships, it doesn't have him swerve the wheel a little bit. So yeah, be safe out there, and thank you again for the letter. That was an awesome, inspiring letter. For the BAMF podcast, I just want to say thanks again for the panel for taking the hour to come in, talk about all things cosmic and spacey. I really appreciate you coming out, and that'll be it for the BAMF podcast.